you have big shoes to fill. The giants came before you. They've written down the blueprint. They've handed it to you. It's up to you to pick it up, to soak it in, to read it, to cultivate it, to perfect it, to master it.
This episode of Choices Not Chances podcast is sponsored by Louisiana Gun Shop, located on Highway 90 West in Broussard, Louisiana, just south of Lafayette. For more information, stay tuned at the end of this episode. This is Choices Not Chances podcast with Ryan and Matt. I'm your co-host, Matthew Charette. Sitting next to me is Ryan Rogers. Ryan.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choices Not Chances, and just like every other episode, if there's something in this episode that strikes you, that touches you, or that you know needs to be shared out, don't be selfish with the information. Get it out there and let's grow together. Today I got a good one for you. Last year I was on the Hard to Kill podcast with Nick Aicardi, and it was a good show. We had a good show, but I learned a lot about him. Somebody that was came in as an MP. You know, he's a field MP. He gets into a police transition, military transition team. So, like, we would go over there and train their armies and train their like the Iraqi or, Afghani civil police. We would do that. And I had a little bit of work with them when I was in Iraq in 06, 07 time frame, 07, 08 time frame, and got to see some pit teams and some MIT teams go over. But that's what he finds himself at. And then and good at his job, running guns, doing good workup training. They got some O3s with them in their pit team, really helping tactically and getting people sound. And then he comes into a QRF mission one night where they get caught in an ambush, and I figured that out about Nick while we were recording my show, and I just thought it was pretty wild to see somebody who was not an O3 and get their perspective on gunfights, especially in the area that I was in and areas that I was in the past. And so brought him on. We're going to talk about his life and kind of get the rundown, get the story from that night, how things played out. So Nick Aicardi, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming out.
What's going on, brother?
Yeah, so just trying to catch the people up a little bit. I know I mentioned something in the read-in and the monologue coming in here, but Nick and I kind of linked up on his podcast, and we had planned to do this podcast for a while now. We've been following each other's content. Nick runs the Hard to Kill podcast, and he's got some great guests on there. Good stories, all the way around, good awareness, and great page. If you're not following him on Instagram, you should be. But yes, we've been following each other's content, and did a recording for on his show, got an episode on there, and then planned this one out. And it was right before I got sick back in June, and then I had to move, and so we pushed it, and so here we are, and I'm glad we could make it happen, man.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you on, man. I thought we got a good episode out of it.
Absolutely, man. It was a good time. Always a good time. So let's start with you. I want to know where you come from, who you come from, where, and we'll kind of go from there.
All right. I come from Boston, Mass. I kind of all around Massachusetts, moved around as a kid. Come from a blue collar family. We're into construction where I'm from, and I got 2 younger brothers. A mother, a father, still together, and all around. I mean, I come from a good background. I had a good childhood. I got nothing to complain about. But yeah, I mean, I came up in construction, learned, principles and hard work as a kid, and I'm grateful for everything that's come my way.
Now, what about team sports? You playing team sports as you growing up?
I did lacrosse and football.
Okay. Now, what's dope about that is most people say wrestling, baseball, football, which is all the shit that I did. I never got to play lacrosse. Talk about that a little bit.
I'm just all about. I've been a defense guy my whole life. I love. I don't know what it is. Just protecting something or stopping a drive is just all me. I like hard hitting sports, and I don't know. Defense has always been my calling, and That's what I did. I was always a defender.
You're smashing people in lacrosse, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, my buddy tried to talk to me. I was telling him, man, I don't want my son to play football because of head injury, and I deal with this and that. He's like, oh yeah, just have him come play lacrosse. It's way safer. And I look up lacrosse. I'm like, no, it's less safe.
Open field hits.
Maybe less
protection,
less safe. Yeah,
faster.
but fun to watch. I'm sure fun
Sure.
to play. I mean, I played football and stuff growing up. Maybe I just need to loosen up. But no, that's good stuff. And just coming up in team sports, I think, is a big thing. You know, learning how to lead, learning how to be led. Now, did you not play hockey? You're up there from the hockey.
No,
plays,
I was always just like a pond hockey guy. Never just like in high school sports or anything. Yeah, I mean, I was busy as a kid, man. I learned once again. I was working very young, and you know, up here, that's something that is instituted at a very young age, and I'm grateful for it because you know. Nowadays, I mean, I feel like people don't really understand hard work or just, getting after it at a young age and building something for yourself. I feel like nowadays everyone expects everything to be given to them. And that's just my opinion. Don't knock me on it. But, I mean, I'm just going after what I see. But I'm grateful for the way I was brought up and, learning everything the way I did. So can't complain.
Right on. Well, what's your earliest memory of wanting to serve or wanting to be in the service?
See, I don't have anyone in my family military, man, and that's why it's, I don't know, kind of weird that I went the way I did. But not to be corny, man, and I know everyone says it, but 9/11 resonated to me. I don't know if that was the media doing their job or if it was just something in me, man. But I saw Americans dying, and I saw guys going over there to fight for something, and I that sold me right away. Their marketing campaign worked very nicely on me.
Yeah, for sure. Me too. I mean, well, I think there's something to be said about like the calling that comes from, like a traumatic incident like that, something that pulls at your, your nationalistic or your patriotistic or your
Heartstrings there, right?
patriotic heartstrings, yeah. And then you're a young military age male coming up, getting ready to get turned loose on the world, and it's like, yeah, I want to make people pay.
Well, it's just weird now, dude, because whenever I mean, it's weird because I remember when I got on the podcast with you at first, you were kind of like, dude, I've told my story 1,000 times, and it's I get on a podcast and it's weird. Just I got to do it again. But every time I tell my story, not to be the one that like goes after the comments and everything, but I look at them all, and I just want to see what the temperature is, and a lot of people are just like, you got sold on something, you're not a patriot, nothing you did was patriotic, and I don't know, that just kind of resonates with me. It kind of affected me in a certain way because I mean, I at a young age, you go over there and you think you're doing the Lord's work, or I don't know, man. As I get older, I dig into more and I find more out about what's behind everything, and sometimes I don't even know which way is up anymore. I don't know if what we did was the right thing, or I mean, because the pullout of I'm going all over the place right now, but the way we pulled out of Afghanistan really kind of affected me and a lot of people that went over there with me, because once again, I thought I was doing something over there, but the way that we left, I mean, really, I don't know. I'm sure it said something to you. I mean, if you go over there and you do any kind of step in like real work, you leave a part of yourself over there to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. And when you come back and you see that it's just like, we just leave everything over there. We just get out of there. We leave all the loose ends that we did. I don't know. It resonates, man. And it kind of, it says something to you. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't like the way things went down. And, I think, I mean, there's a lot to be learned, and
I know.
And looking at that situation, I mean, it's loaded, because looking at that situation, there was, command issues, there was timeline issues, there was planning issues, and let's be honest, man, the way I see this, any withdrawal from Afghanistan, regardless of what president it was going to be sloppy, messy. It was going to be hard. So it's like, I'm not blaming any administration or anything like that for anything outside of trying to put like a rush on the military to do something that was something that you don't put a rush on.
Exactly.
And you get too hasty in a situation like that and things can go badly. But I think that was just kind of going to happen regardless of what we did.
I think I reacted too strongly at first. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I think, maybe strategic locations and stuff. Here's the other thing, man. We only know what we know.
Yeah, exactly.
There could have been a million different reasons that we don't know and aren't allowed to know about.
Bunch of variables.
Of why we did HKIA versus, versus somewhere else. Why we did, it looked bad. For knowing what we know, when we knew it, it don't look good. And for me, it's like, what does that say to the rest of the world? The next time we need interpreters and we tell people, that was the big tactical mistake to me, or strategic mistake to me. Here's one thing I would say, man. When you're over in Afghanistan and you say, when people say, what do we do it for? And of course we did it for each other. You do it for the guy to the left or your right. But like deeper than that, if we did nothing else, bro, we gave a generation of oppressed Afghani and Iraqi children a taste of freedom. We gave them a taste of what it could be like. And a taste is enough. And we give you a 20-year taste with our blood, okay? And so now you have it. We showed you how to do it. We resourced you, we armed you, we taught you, and your people now have a taste. Now from there, what you would hope is that, that spark in the next 20 or 30 years is like something. It turns into a flame, and they have, who knows, you have somebody stands up to Mujahideen again, and takes back a country. That's what you could hope, but we can't do that forever. So what did we do? We went over there and we freed a generation.
That's all we can do.
A generation of their people's minds to know that there was something more. If you don't know you're oppressed, you're never going to try to get out of that situation. Now they know. If nobody ever told them before that, now they know that there's more to this. And for me, that's enough. For me, that's enough. I got to go to a place. I got to go to what I considered ultimate arena and prove something to myself, and sacrifice for my fellow man with my brothers, and give them an opportunity and a taste. And if you take it or leave it, you don't want to take it, don't take it. But I tell you what, I don't like after 20 years of being there, 20 and 30-year-old males leaving their wives and kids rushing through C-Wire to try to get on a plane and leave their families behind.
Facts.
It's like until that nation decides to have a backbone, stand up and say, the men of that nation say, hey, enough's enough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean,
we can't do that for them. We did all we
can't do it forever. You can't do it forever.
Now, I'm curious because I try not to watch the news, but I try to pick my platforms where I get my information wisely and properly, but I see parallels. The little things that I see, I mean, you look at our current climate with, Israel and Palestine, and I see the way, and I try not to listen to one side too much because, as we know, there's variables and people, exaggerate certain things because they're patriotic to one side, which I can understand. But the way that, I don't know, I just did an episode on my podcast recently, and we talked about, what's going on currently, and just the way that Hamas is engaging and going about the way they fight. I see parallels with the Taliban, because whenever I was in Afghanistan, I would always, going through the villages, I would try to talk to people. That's something that I really believe heavily on, is engaging with the local population and trying to learn what you can. Because if you go in narrow-minded, just thinking that everyone's against you, you don't see certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to really learn the language and really engage with people, I don't know if that to them was like a sign of respect because I was like putting time into learn their language and they appreciated that a little bit, but I got a lot out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from it. And whenever I would talk to like Afghan locals, they would just be stuck, man. Think about it. You
Sure.
grow up in that climate. What the fuck do you do? What is your option? You got the Taliban coming to you being like, listen, this is ours now. We're engaging whoever comes here from your farm, from your mud hut, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to leave all our gear here as well. And if you don't listen to us, you're dead and we're going to take it anyways. So, but it seems like that's how Hamas is operating. They're going to, is that just the way? Listen, this is just the way I see it. Don't think this is Ryan's views. This is my views. But if you're going to put supplies, ammunition, weapons, if you're going to engage IDF from your home, your people's property, your people's homes, obviously you're going to get engaged back and your people are going to die. That shouldn't be just a right for you to be like, oh, Israel's firing upon women and kids, but I saw the Taliban do that too. They would go.
No, but think about it, man. Think about it. It's beautiful. Not that it's beautiful in a sense that what they're
I hear
doing.
you. I get you.
The tactic is going to work.
Of course.
Because they have counter battery.
Yep.
They do. And it's like, yeah, they're gonna fuck a bunch of civilians up. And then what do we have? We have the same shit that they were doing in Iraq to us, burning Qurans and blaming it on us. Or going and massacring a village and then blaming it on us in a propaganda campaign. This is tested. This is age old. And so what's sickening, there's a bunch of things that are sickening. The fact that people it blows my mind that people can get behind the actions.
But see, they don't know that. They don't know. Well, you're right. I
mean, everybody knows it now. It's on national television, and people are saying, "No, that's propaganda." Now, I will say this about propaganda, though. Yeah. I will say this: when Ukraine was invaded by Russia, people believed that there was the ghost of Kyiv flying over and downing jets for 2 weeks. Okay, so I'm glad that people don't just believe everything they see. And I would say, as far as anybody on this side of the pond is concerned that's relying on all this technology and these internet and all of that, I would say you don't know anything that's happened over there.
Exactly.
You don't know if any of that's true, because none of that may be true. Literally none of that may be true.
I think that's the new front, dude. It's not boots on ground. It's propaganda.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. And if you win the propaganda campaign, what happens? Well, NYC, you have Palestinians on one side and Jews on the other side, and they're in a ruckus. And if you think that like Russia's Internet Research Agency, their IRA that has thousands of bot farms, if you think they're not planning these things in these cities in our country right before election year again, I mean, wake up.
I always thought, the thing is, I always thought how warfare was going to evolve. When I heard that, I always heard warfare is going to evolve. Yeah. I thought it was going to be drones. I thought it was going to be boots on ground fighting stuff. You know what I'm saying? Nah. The way people engage each other. No. It's a whole new platform, a whole new ball game. It's getting hearts and minds. It's getting people to believe a narrative. Mm-hmm. So you can have. I don't know, man. As I grow and I see things from a different lens, not just being behind a ACOG or a rifle. It's the way that warfare really works is just. It's a chess game on a 3-dimensional platform. Yeah. It's wild, man. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, we have, and now is the military industrial complex exactly what people say? Is it just running the stage now? Because we see all these engagements popping up, and it really, I mean, was it like that when we were younger? Did we just not hear about it? It was because we didn't have media.
I mean, Smedley Butler wrote about it.
Yeah, you're right. I was just going to say that.
The exact same thing then as is happening now, both in the contracting world and in the military world and in the wasteful spending of contracting and military world. It's literally the military industrial complex is what runs and keeps us on top. Now, here's a couple things I'd say is beautiful about that. And not everybody's going to agree with me because maybe not everybody thinks it's beautiful. But one thing is we're exchanging out a lot of weapons right now, looking good to our allies on a world stage. helping people in a real manner and replenishing our coffers with the newest technology and the newest weapons coming out of General Dynamics and Raytheon and everybody else that's making them, right? And so as they're going over here and doing this, we're emptying out the old stuff to bring in the new stuff, one would think. So that's pretty beautiful. And the war's not on our shores, which is pretty beautiful. And probably, I'm not in DC in a think tank, but I'm guessing there's some deals being made where we're going to get some things out of this as a country, And so as sick as that is, maybe for some people to think about, it's like that's the reality, man. And if you're not at the top of that game, where are you? And right now there's a chaos descending across the globe in an uncertain future, I would say, about things. And not to be dark, I'm not trying to be dark at all, but there's a lot of places on the globe that are a bit uncertain right now. Some nuclear, some not nuclear, and there's things going on. So it's like,
Putin just tested that new on his birthday, the new, I think, X9 or whatever with nuclear capabilities that's able to go miles upon miles, and I mean that's definitely a flex. I mean, with the color climate, I mean, I don't know, from your position, being someone that's been, behind an ACOG and in a theater where you've seen it on the ground, what do you take away from what's going on right now? Is it just everything just being amplified to the nth degree, so the dollars can just be raining from the sky, or is there really just like a possible World War III stage going on? And keep in mind, we're just speculating right now because that's what we can do. We have platforms, and that's what we're doing here. So
yeah, I mean, to me, this is what I've been saying. Like I thought that the China-Taiwan takedown was going to be earlier. I thought it was going to be right after the Olympics. I was wrong. So I mean, I'm no expert at this, but I tell you what, like you could see the Axis powers like talking to each other, and you can see the Allied powers talking to each other. And what scares me about this whole Iranian thing is this whole Iranian thing a proxy to get the United States back into war? And as sick as that is, of course they want to kill Jews, and they did. They showed that. If what we're seeing is true, which I have no reason to believe that it's not. I've seen a lot of GoPro footage of actual soldiers. Yep. Again, all that could be true. So we guess believe nothing what you see, half of what you hear kind of thing, especially when it's this far removed. But if that stuff is true, absolutely, that was barbaric. It was insane. And I think that it was enough to make Netanyahu unleash the dogs. And obviously he's been bombing and shelling and, doing his thing. But knowing that the United States is the big brother and is never going to let that lose. Maybe if you're Iran and you want to get them in, but you want it on a two-front system, you know what I mean? Those are the things I start thinking about. Okay, there's some crazy, Hamas Palestinians that are trying to get crazy. You're always going to have that, so you're going to have that. And why have they never done it before now? Why now? And it's like,
someone help them.
Well, and like, not to be overly political, but we have a weak White House. We have a weak administration right now.
Very much
and
so.
It's not left, right, Republican, Democrat thing. It's just there's weakness exuding. But like we can't look strong on a world stage right now. And then I think this is what happens. And and there's history that's not just me spouting things. Like if you were to go into Osama bin Laden files of the hard drives and the letters and everything that they took out of Islamabad after they took him down, he's literally writing and emailing his generals while President Obama was the commander-in-chief, saying you can attack the President Obama's envoys, and please do. But you will not attack Joe Biden's envoys. It said, and in the papers it said because Joe Biden is number 2, and when one goes down, number 2 takes his place in their chain of succession, and that man is not fit to lead.
Wow.
So they wanted him there all the way back then. And then now you got him, and then
that's scary.
This is obviously this next part, and then that's fact. But this next part, speculation, is like, why? Outside of, like, what did they see? that the American people didn't see? What did he know to say that he's not fit to run that office, right? And then you look at a number of years later, he finally comes up and is fit to run the office according to the American people, and you get what you got right now. And now, you know, you got a bunch of Americans left with a bunch of questions like, what are the real answers to some of this stuff? Like, you called a lot of people crazy for believing a lot of stuff that you said was not true, and now we find out that it was exactly true.
Yeah.
And so then there's this distrust, right? And I love this country. I don't want anything bad to happen in this country, but it feels like it's a powder keg on both sides waiting to explode.
What you just said, I feel like that's one of the hardest things for me as a Marine, because I love this country. But we gotta talk about what's going on, and to talk about the real, it's almost like you're hating on the country a little bit. You know what I mean? That, but that's not what it is, man. I mean, enemies, foreign and domestic. You know what I'm saying? Like, clearly, this is just my opinion, something has infiltrated us at some level, whether it's, I don't know if it's red or if it's blue or if it's China or if it's, I don't know what exactly to call it, but you can't, as a patriotic American, not feel worried right now. You can, whether it's the fact that Americans voted in Biden, and I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm much more a Republican than I am a Democrat, but I don't like to take either side, really, because I know.
Well, they both do the same thing.
This is what I mean.
I think that they both do the same thing, and then they sit and have dinner
exactly, and talk
behind armed guards and talk about how silly the American people are.
Exactly.
That's the way a lot of people view it. I'm not saying that's my views, but that's what it sure seems like a lot of times, especially with things of of late. The best thing we can do is we need to continue to be positive influences on the people in our communities, right? Like Mother Teresa said, if you want to change the world, go home and love your family. Start with your family, then your community, and all that bullshit on TV, let that shit be. Am I saying don't pay attention? I'm not saying don't pay attention. Now's the time when we need to pay attention. The world is a little off kilter. But I'm saying, like, serenity, right? Recognize the things that you can change right now, and change those things. Then recognize the things that you cannot change right now, and don't worry about those things. Try as best you can not to worry about those things. And that's the prayer part, because you got to pray for the wisdom to know what can I change and what can I not change. And if you cannot change it, to waste your bandwidth on something that you cannot change is stupid, in my opinion.
I think I'm learning that right now.
And so,
yeah.
Yeah, and so what can you change? Well, you can do good research, good journalism, and then you can start at the community level and start to, change things. Start to, seed your platform. Get out there truth and knowledge into your local community. It'll grow from there. Everything else take care of itself. And if
I can't. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, if the time comes that it's time to worry, that's because you need to change something right now. And that means it's time to think about those things. Until it's time to think about those things, if you're not 1-6 in the 2-6 mu, you ain't supposed to. There's nothing you can do about that right now.
Exactly.
So everybody just needs to keep their head on straight, start at the community, and go up from there. I think the media in this country is just fanning the flame of fear and doubt and concern right now.
Of course, all for votes. But if you could, I mean, let's take this down a couple of notches. Let's talk to maybe some young Marines. For example, I had a young corporal on my show a few weeks ago. He was out of 2-1, and just talking to him, man, he was very, very introspective, and he was well spoken, and he kind of put me into the mindset of a young corporal in today's Marine Corps. I can't imagine that with the amount of poor leadership, disinformation. What do you believe? For example, they were all just told, get a COVID shot or you're getting the fuck out. And then 2 months later, they're like, whoa, my bad, guys. Listen. So about that COVID shot, you know what I mean? Like, how do you trust a leader that does something like that? Or there's been a lot of instances like that where they backpedaled on something, gone hard on another thing. As a young Marine, seeing that, what do you even recommend to someone like that? Exactly what you just said, the things that you can control. Become better at your job, train till you're fucking bleeding in the fingers and you know every weapon system front and back. What you can control. I mean, try to motivate guys with, competition. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Same thing. I think it's a travesty. I don't know. Especially, I think when the Supreme Court ruled that, at least on the religious grounds, I believe they ruled that it was unconstitutional to force that. And I don't know the ins and outs, and I haven't, read and looked at the decision or the dissenting opinion yet. But that's what it sounds like. I don't know, man. I think you had a whole country scared to death, and hundreds of thousands of people dying, and a military force saying we have to be ready to deploy everywhere and we need to stop this. And always seems that like bad things always happen from hasty decisions. Like you have 9/11 happen, Patriot Act comes. Patriot Act, as good as everybody thought that may be at the time, because we were scared to death. Unanimous on both sides voted through. We lost a lot in the Patriot Act.
Lost a lot of freedoms with that.
We lost a lot, okay? And so, boom, now COVID's here. Everybody's scared to death. There's people dying. And we push through and we say, we're going to make you take an injection from the government. And if you don't, we're going to kick you out, or we're going to fire you from your job. And those are bad decisions. And, this stuff always comes out in the wash. And now what are you going to do? Like, are you going to reinstate the Marines you kicked out? Pay them back pay? Hook them up with their promotion time? Probably not, right? People don't think about that, I guess. But because they took a moral stand to something. Now, that's the other thing I'll say. You sign a paper, so you're a Marine.
You could take that stand as well, yeah.
And gave yourself, willingly. That's just like, if you're a Marine, obviously, look at Stu Schiller. You don't have freedom of speech. You're government material at this point. They're going to do with you how they see fit. If they think that what you're doing is negatively going to impact them, they're going to handle that situation. And that's what they did with the COVID thing too. Now, I don't know enough of the laws and the in-betweens and to speak intelligently about, where do they go from here after the ruling's made and what that looks like. But that doesn't sow much trust. That sows dissent, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing I would say is this, like, I wake up every single day, like, praying and hoping that the leaders of this country, even the ones right now, have a good day and do the best thing that they can, for the American people. It's not that I hate them. It's just that they are not capable of leading this country correctly.
Exactly. Yeah,
Doesn't matter what colors beside their name, the D or an R or blue or red. This is an example of what never to put in the office again, regardless of what side you're on. And if this comes up on the Republican side, I would urge everybody not to put that person in as well. Right. I'm dead serious. This is a failure. This is a failure. And when you fail at that level, and what we're all seeing now as we reap the benefits of that, is the whole entire world. When the United States is not well, the entire world is not well. When the United States is not a thriving unilateral superpower for the world that is respected, this is what goes on. And so,
you're right.
And so that's.
I never thought of it like that. You're right.
That's what. That's just the way I see it. Now I'm who I am.
No, that's true.
You don't know me, but that's the way I see it, man.
So I also talked to I don't know. Have you seen the military office? I think it's Lieutenant Colonel Armstrong. He has a podcast, and I asked him. So I've been kind of not going after, but kind of really diving into Force Design 2030, trying to figure out, really what that is, because I'm not in. I don't really know exactly what that entails, but I mean, to the layman's, view of it, it looks like they're trimming the fat a little bit. I mean, we're coming out of the desert. We're coming onto a new battlefield, if you will. I mean, realistically, the person that's in the sights right now is China. If I'm the Marines, I mean, that's who I'm looking at. So obviously you're going to be looking at island hopping. And the first thing they did was drop a couple of MOSs. They got tanks out of there. Saltman, I mean, tried to, make some room for something.
I don't know if it's make room for something. I think it's more of And I've done some research on this. This is just isn't off the cuff, but when I interviewed Stuart Scheller, we talked about Azerbaijan and Armenia in that war, and that war was it Stuart Scheller? No, Wayne. Gunnar LaRose. I'm sorry, Gunnar LaRose. And Wayne Phelps. There's been a couple of them, but they turned me on to the different little research, studies that were going on, and I think that was one of them that General Berger was tracking, and that other generals were tracking as huge drone victory, where tanks and long range artillery and such was getting completely decimated by $1,500 drones packed with C4 or packed with a like a mortar or whatever. And if you look at that and you say, okay, already, and you get the directive, prior to when Secretary Mattis laid out his plan, you pick that up, you see what they want. They want more of a island hopping, trim the fat. We're going to be more of the old school Marine Corps stuff. We're done with the desert, like you said. Yeah. Yep. But the artillery, the tanks and such, yes, that's trimming fat, but that's trimming it because you're going to spend how many $1 million on that tank and one $1,500 drone now that every fucking buddy has from the black market. No matter where you go, they will have them. They're going to get them. And that's where you make the change from 03-17s. You're snipers, right? Everybody's pissed off. Snipers are going away. And I am too, don't get me wrong, because there's reasons, but not for the same reasons probably. Like my buddies are snipers. And I just had one of my buddies was just here. He's a hog, and it burns a little bit that's going away, even though he's out, And we talk about it, and I say, like the beautiful side of it for me is that I don't have to worry about my buddy Alex having to go out and do recon on something and a drone see him from 3 miles away and kill him because he has a hot signature. He did everything right. He stalked right. He got to his hide right. He's dead because of a robot. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Now we have those robots that can go out there and do that. And then my friends don't have to go crawl out there and do that. So that's like that side of looking at it. The bad side is anytime in war we've ever had workarounds, we do a workaround. Okay, boom, workaround, drone. Somebody is going to find the workaround to a drone, I promise. Somebody will. And I don't know if it's direct energy weapon or what it is, but somebody's going to find a workaround. And I think where we lost, at least as a service, essentially, is you shut down the schoolhouse, you're going to lose the trade craft. Yeah. You're losing the experience and the salt and the, the TTPs and of all of those years, being recorded somewhere because we don't know where we're going to fight next. But you might need some of that.
Something you just said, the experience and the salt. To run this operation, Force Design, you need experience and salt, which is going to be staff NCOs. Mm-hmm. Right now, the Marine Corps' retention rate on staff NCOs is absolutely pitiful. We cannot keep these guys in, specifically logistics, but more so the guys that have put in pain, deployed Iraq, Afghanistan, led, done real things. And listen, I hate to harp on that stuff, but that's what we know how to do. Okay, this is what we've done the past 20 years. We got staff NCOs that are very capable that have gone to both theaters. These are the guys. Listen, when's the last time we island hopped? We don't have who's going to teach these young corporals, lance corporals how to do this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be a butter bar? I don't. That's who's going to be doing it if we don't have staff NCOs, and it's not going to go right. So,
I would say this though. I observe a lot of training with the Marines, being right over here by Lejeune. Friends that are in places that I get out to ranges. I get to go see a lot of stuff. I get sent a lot of stuff, and I think the Marines are well in hand. And I think that if the Marines needed to land on an island tomorrow and make it happen, I think the only downplay you would have is some stupid fucking tracks would sink. Like, and I think that's a real thing. But as far as do I think we could do it, there's no doubt in my mind that the game of FAFO needed to be played. They will find out. If somebody wanted to fuck around with a beach, they'd find out quick. I'm telling you. And Marine Corps will always be good. And especially at that tactical level. Tactical level Marines will always make the job work. The side of the Marine Corps that people have, beef with is the upper echelons of that by trickle down effect and trickle down politics makes, I wouldn't even say hostile work environment, but it creates an environment where it's like my way or the highway. If you don't do what I like, I'm the guy that writes your fit rep. You know what I mean? And so maybe that could be reevaluated or not. Maybe been the baddest fighting force since the beginning of time, beginning of our inception. And like it works, and some people get their feathers ruffled and some people get out, and that's the way it goes, but nobody's ever beat us, and we salute like this for a reason, right? So like I see both sides. I hear a lot of arguments. I just try to stay neutral and say, well, I don't know what's best. I'm not the guy to ask. I'm going to look at a bunch of people. I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. And at the end of the day, I believe that a swarm of drones, which now they have the swarm technology, I believe a swarm of drones would decimate your entire tank system and never risk one person to do it.
That's crazy that they can just be so effective on such a large object with such a small munition.
But I mean, soft spot of a artillery gun is going to be a barrel, right? Or even the firing mechanism, and you go to a tank top or bottom. I just did a recording not long ago, and got sent footage, and it was Al Qaeda footage of one of my friends coming up in a tank and taking a main IED blow to the hull, and he kind of walked us through, what that's like, and then offline we talked a bit about what that's like, and it's. The IEDs are no joke, and that bottom side. So you got IEDs on the bottom. Now you got to worry about the drones from the top. So I think Marine Corps saw that coming and said, okay, where can we trim? What can we take away? And then what can we get back in return of that? And then I think we probably got drones of our own, obviously, that we can use. So yeah, man, I don't know where to stand on it. I think for where I think we're going, for where you said, talking about, PACOM and being over that area, I think it's probably right. And, a lot of the generals of old Mavericks are not happy about a lot of the stuff. And I'm not saying they're wrong, bro, because like what happens when you go into another theater, and maybe, but there's only so much money to go around. So,
well, it seems like it's been dishing out pretty plentiful, man. I mean, geez, they're already getting on an aid package for Israel. I mean, listen, I understand that anytime that civilians die in theater and combat, it is something that shouldn't happen. It's a travesty. But I don't think that we are really at the point right now as a country to be just shelling out taxpayer dollars to all these situations. I mean, this is just how I feel. When's the last time these people came over here for internal issues that we've had? Mm-hmm. Look at our border. Look at all the various things you can pinpoint that is going on with the United States. When we have any help with that, we didn't. But listen, I understand, Ukraine, Russia. I mean, I don't really agree with getting involved with things like that. I understand that, listen, we are the big brother in a lot of these situations. And when we're not, operating, no one else can really operate. But still, I mean, I don't know. Whether it's just this current administration has made me feel this way, inflation, if you will. I mean, I don't know if we have the tax, bankroll to be doing this. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah, but we may be the big brother, but you know what? And I'm not linking this to any other situations in the world, but sometimes one of your little brothers might be a crackhead, and you might just need to turn your back on him. I'm just saying.
Exactly. I agree
just
with
a little bit of situational awareness and be like, we might not help you,
Thank you.
Well, and the other thing I would say is like, look, it costs a lot of money to keep people from invading our own shores and raping and killing our kids and cutting their heads off, right? So, like, that's first. But in what you say, like, we have spent millions and millions of taxpayer dollars on Ukraine at this point, and like we have things going on in Hawaii to our own people.
Thank you.
And we have things going on in other places with Americans that are suffering. Now, let me jump on this real quick. If you fucking take an American citizen hostage, I hope they fucking find you in that tunnel like a dog and a rat that you are, and I hope they do to you whatever it was that you thought you were going to do to the Americans. And if you already did do something to the Americans, they will find you, And you're probably going to die under all those hundreds of pounds of concrete that you thought would make you safe. Because when you fuck around with the United States, dude, you're going to find out. And you think they don't have weapons that'll get down there. If they don't have weapons, they'll unleash beautiful dogs, and they will find you. So you don't take a United States citizen hostage and then think that you're going to win the day. And really, I think that's all they needed to do. Netanyahu called over, 27 Americans dead and this many taken hostage. And man, free fire zone, baby.
Yeah,
Go find them. We'll send resources. Because that's the way it needs to be. Because the second that you let that slip and you say, well, they shouldn't have been there, or, oh, we just can't do anything, or we done our best, and you don't bring that to justice, this powder keg in America is going to go insane, first off. And second off, you're going to send a message to the rest of the world that they can now do that. And if you think they'll stop, they won't. It's like a bully. A bully's going to keep picking on you as long as you take it and you take it and you take it.
You're right. But something else that I've been feeling lately, man, and something that's always been in the back of my head is, complacency kills. And I've seen it happen. I just feel very, I don't know, nothing's really happened to us recently. I feel like we, as Americans, we feel very, very safe because we're so removed from the real. And this is just from talking to people, normal
for sure.
civilians, you know what I'm saying? I've been seeing a lot of clips, online of, people taking advantage of the border situation. And someone sent something to me recently that, they've been tracking the number of military-aged males that are coming over because of our weak border situation right now. And they a lot of them have had debit cards from like private corporations so they're getting paid to come over. That just makes me feel very unsettled because I know how the Taliban works. I know how they use sleeper cells and they can turn them on like that to get certain things done. Like, when's the last time that we've really been touched? And if I'm an enemy of America, I'm looking at the weakest points and I'm taking advantage of it. And this is just me being like a
no, dude. This isn't even a political thing. This is, you're spot on. If you have an open gate somewhere where thousands of people are coming across, if you are an enemy of the state and you want to come to do harm, that is where you enter. You don't need a green card. You don't need a passport. You don't need an ID. And also, like the cartels make shitloads of money off these people. So when these terrorists come with millions of dollars, they're going to say, which route do you want? You want the dangerous route or you want the tunnel route into East Arizona? You know what I'm saying? And that's how that happens. And so all this stuff at the border could be all flashing and stars and cameras over here while you're importing millions of pounds of fentanyl, explosives, and that is scary. That's scary. And I think it's I think it's something. Look, man.
Be concerned about.
Listen, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people that hate and that try to bring harm to the country. But you're never going to take this fucking country, dude. You could bring all of them. And when the American people wake up like 9/12/2001 and they realize, oh shit, this is for real, that gel comes back together and they will be in for it.
See, I wanna think that, bro. And I used to be a very big advocate of that as well. I just feel uncertain about right now, whether it's the administration, whether it's what's
probably
going
has
on.
A lot to do with it, man. I mean, if you lean Republican and then you get the election, the way the election happened, so doubt for a lot of people for sure, and I think a lot of people still maybe have doubt about it. And then you make Donald Trump, for some reason, you make him the number one enemy of the state, and you try to indict him, and like we start to look like Vladimir Putin running off. What was it, Navalny? Imprisoning him, and it's like, hold on, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? And so I think that sows a lot of doubt. I think there's uncertainty with the, especially like with the some of the federal agencies. I myself, after this whole Israeli and Hamas conflict, even though it's only just a little bit old, I find it so fucking hard to believe that our IC did not pick anything up.
Oh, I know.
And if it's true, okay, but listen to this. Let's run this out. If it's true that our IC knew nothing about this, that's a problem, right? I mean, that's a
No
problem.
way. There's no way. But yes, that is a
Okay.
huge problem. Yes.
Huge problem. If our IC community knew about this, what does that mean? Or which one's a bigger problem?
This is what I'm saying.
Depends if you live in Israel.
Well, and the thing is, our IC talks to their IC.
I know.
They're one and the same. So if they didn't know, that's a big fucking issue. That means we didn't. We don't know. We got balloons.
But we be feeling it somewhere else if that was the case. If they were that out of it, you know what I'm saying?
I would think so.
You know what I mean?
But if you did have intelligence that this was coming,
then you're okay with that. This is what I mean. It's unsettling, bro.
we got to get back in it, boys. Here we go. Fire up the,
Yeah.
I guess, I'll say it with a smile on my face. We're America, and
But also,
I think
the other thing
go
that causes uncertainty sometimes is the bombardment upon the American people, yourself, Ryan, myself, from social media, standard news, the internet, the flow of information. I'll bring you something that's not even war related. How about the weather? Yeah. Oh, we got another tropical storm on the coast. I don't know if there is one right now or not, but I live in Louisiana, so guess what What happens then? Everybody spools up, starts buying. It's not even in the Gulf yet, people.
All trends,
but guess what happened 80 years ago, 100 years ago? They looked off the coast and was like, hey, they got some clouds over there. You know what the person in New York or California knew about that? A little blip in the back end of the paper. It was like, yeah, Louisiana got struck by a hurricane today.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But
what happens all over the world all the time. We know what happens in Bangladesh before they do.
Yeah.
Or wherever. Pick
it's
a
like
place.
Information overdrive.
Yes.
And then, and that's not even the bad thing. The bad thing is that only little bits of what we see is true and contextually framed. Most of it's not,
I don't know. I think one of the scariest things, though, is just observing the people around me, the way that they let media affect them emotionally. And listen, that's just the type of training that I have and the person that I am, that I don't let emotions override the way that I critically think and make decisions, because I've seen it go very poorly. But the average American citizen, man, they'll let something like, because Trump is loud and obnoxious, override their decision to vote for someone that's sane. You know what I mean? Like, you literally you let this happen to us. Listen, once again, I'm not definitely I get more red in my system than blue, but they're both bullshitting so much I don't really know which way to take it nowadays. But the fact that we let this happen to us, that we voted it in, that scares me more. That the American, listen, I love America, people, but that we are so stupid to let this happen. Look at what we're dealing with now. I mean,
this is what happens when the wrong person wins, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to think that we could avoid something like that happening, but I mean, clearly not.
This is what happens when people are more worried about when the new iPhone comes out.
This is what I mean.
What are the Kardashians are doing on TV?
They're dumb. They don't.
Than what the state of their country is.
Exactly.
Or where their troops are engaged at war.
I talked to just a friend of mine recently, and I was like, just talking about what's going on right now. And she told me, she's like, I just started paying attention like yesterday. So I don't really know. Like that's the people don't really. It's not we're removed from it. It's not affecting them, so they don't feel like they have to pay attention. So they don't know shit about it.
Out of sight, out of mind.
We've become so.
Or is it that they said, "Oh, I can't do anything about that. I don't even know where that is. I'm gonna go get my latte and go to the mall."
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna worry about my 9 to 5.
Hey, how beautiful is that? The American people are so free that they don't even believe war is a real thing.
This is what I'm saying.
Now, that's a great thing and a beautiful thing.
Perfect, yeah.
Until it's not.
It breeds complacency. You know what I mean? Like where we've been removed from it for so long, we don't think we're able to be touched. You know what I'm saying? And then that, I don't know. Listen, you can stamp me a conspiracy theorist all you want. I like to think of it as critical thinking because I've seen it unfold in front of me, and that's. Listen, I don't know. I feel very uncertain as of late about where we are as a country, and I don't normally feel that way, and I don't like feeling that way, and I just hope, and you know what's something I don't see, and I've never been too political, Why? Like, listen, the three of us right now, we feel strongly about these things. We're pretty well versed in most of them. You know what I mean? Why aren't more people like us getting involved in politics? Keep in mind, I fucking hate politics.
I think that's your answer right there. Like for me, the highest paid people in our nation should be, and hear me out because I understand why they're not. They should be teachers, first responders, and military. Check. Okay.
Facts.
That's what it should be. That's not the case. Some of the higher paid individuals in our nation work in politics. Okay. So those two things aside, the reason first responders, military, and teachers are not paid at high wages, in my opinion, is because that would bring the wrong people and ultimately it would fail. You put a big ass price tag, like $100,000+ to be a high school teacher, you're going to have a bunch of people who don't even like kids trying to come down and do that job. So what you say is you say no for the service jobs, for the real jobs, for shaping and molding minds and protecting lives and then going to stand on the front. Those people exist. They're going to do it anyway. So we don't put big price tags on that. But we do on politicians. Oh, man, You're a politician. You're going viral. You're getting book deals. You're getting honey pots thrown at you, left and right. You're getting, endorsed. You're getting just about what you want. You're getting a couple $100,000 salary to whether you do good or you don't do good. You're going to get that, protection. You're going to get all these things. So a bunch of people that are overindulgent, probably a whole lot more selfish than selfless, and you see the type, they're going to be the ones that are going to go out for these jobs. Yeah. Now, am I saying every politician in the House or every senator is not is that person? I'm not saying that. No, what I am saying is that's what the fuck it looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
And I get politics. Like, you got to go in, you got to rub shoulders, you got to do your thing. But man, dude, do we had to say I have the same people in the same chairs for 35 years still? And like, I say this a lot, and this isn't a slam to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, because I'd say it to both of you. I wouldn't ask my grandmother to babysit my dog for a weekend.
Exactly.
Or walk my dog around the block so it could take a shit. So why do we ask 85-year-old people to run the free-speaking world?
Facts.
It seems like it's a little bit outside of capabilities in my opinion.
You know what it seems like? It seems like they're bought and paid, and they're sitting there because someone wants them there. To me, that's what it looks like. That's why that
like maybe
old
like
blood
a
stays.
like a BlackRock level employee,
little State Street, yeah.
Well, no, like maybe we do a little research over the next couple of months. By we, I mean me, and then we talk about this more in depth when I can actually talk and not speak unintelligently about it.
I feel the same way.
Because there's tons of strings to follow as far as money. I'm a money guy. Like, I don't care who's right, wrong, and different. If you follow
the money, you'll always get to it.
You follow money, you find it. But look, man, I pray for both sides. I think both sides are all twisted up right now, and we need like we need to come to Jesus meeting as a nation to say, hey, let's hit the brakes. Let's reestablish where we are. Let's.
I hope we're capable of that. I hope, because you know what you just said, like before, if you weighed both options, I hope we actually, like, that can happen. I hope there's not someone in the position that's actually pushing this cart that can't be checked, that doesn't have someone to be like, hey, bro, maybe that isn't the best call. Or
I gotta believe, man. I can't. This may sound naive to a lot of people, and people that got me fooled. I'm going to refuse to believe that we as a nation are bought and paid for. I'm gonna as a nation.
I fucking hope so.
I'm gonna believe that, and I'm gonna refuse to believe that our free and fair elections. I'm gonna refuse to believe that our free and fair elections are bought and paid for. I'm gonna refuse to believe that. Because if I let myself believe that, then it will do something different inside me.
A lot darker. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not that I want to turn a blind eye. I still believe we're good. There's a lot of disinformation and a lot of other people that don't want us to believe that. And they are on the same internet frequencies that we are, and they're pushing out the same stuff with thousands and millions of bots trying to get us to look, man. The best. Our enemies are sitting back laughing right now at the use of social media and what they've been able to get American people to believe or not to believe, right? So I'm going to refuse to believe any of that's true, and I'm going to still believe that America is the light and that her people are what comes from that. And that's Marcus Luttrell's words to the GOP. And that's true, and that's real. We are going to have setbacks and fuck-ups, though. We are going to have setbacks and fuck-ups. I think we're in a setback and a fuck-up right now.
I agree.
It doesn't change the fact that we've done more for oppressed people than any other nation. We are still the best. We are still the...
Shit, we're the only one that does anything for anyone.
That's what
bro.
I'm saying. We are the ones. Like, you could say what you want about us, but we're the ones on the hill.
Yeah.
We're the city on the hill that comes and saves you and brings your people food.
Exactly. Yeah, you can knock us all you want, man. We're the only one that's coming at nighttime. You know what I mean?
And we do come, despite the fact that it charges us taxes, despite the fact that we lose our sons and daughters of liberty. We still come for you. And that's what America is.
Facts.
And that's what you beat your chest about right there. Doesn't matter what shit's going on. There's setbacks, there's mistakes, there's fuck-ups. But if you ever asked anybody on the planet to say if you were if you were a citizen of a country that you knew was going to come and get you and right this wrong, what would it be? It's America every time.
So tell me this, Ryan. Like you've been doing this for how long now?
A couple years.
What are you pulling from it, man? I mean, you get some traction.
Purpose.
You get some purpose.
I don't do this for any other reason, man. I don't make money. Matt doesn't make money. We survive as far as like traveling and such.
We just bought the first plane ticket for me to fly out here.
Yeah, we finally made enough money to travel a little bit, which is good. But
everything else has been out of pocket. All the equipment, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so like I do it because, man, I told you a little bit when I recorded with you, but I do it because it fulfills a place inside of my soul that I was not filling for a couple of years, and they were the closest couple of years to me making bad decisions. When I got out, I spun and I didn't have purpose and I didn't know what I was going to do. Nothing about gunfighting seemed to translate to the civilian world to me, and I didn't plan on getting out. That was put upon me, forced upon me, and so I just spun. But this is my selfless. This isn't about me. I gain purpose from it, but I'm doing this for other people. I'm doing it because there's a lot of people out there reeling, and I was able to find a way to manage. I was able to find a way to manage, and then not only manage, but start to succeed. And I've been through a lot of combat, in a very short period of time, in Marja, and there's ways out of it. You don't have to be handcuffed and confined to this. Some people want to call it PTSD. I choose to think of it, a lot of it as brain injuries from TBI. And there's nothing wrong with you. You got PTSD. Guess what? You've seen some traumatic ass shit. And there's things that come with that. And there's no harm in that. There's no
there might be something wrong with you if you didn't have side effects to that.
Yeah, exactly. It could be, right? So it's like, I'm just saying, there's a lot of guys that feel shame. I mean, even me, when I first came home, I hated it. I just wanted to get it away from me. I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't even know what an anxiety attack was. I felt like my heart felt like there was, So a lot of people get in that, and then they get stuck there, man, for years. And arguably some of the best years of their life are spent sitting in some garage somewhere, scared to death to engage with the, or maybe sometimes it's not scared, but it's just like, just fucking done. Just don't want to be out there.
Stuck in neutral, man. It's really, because really, I didn't believe it for a while, man. I wasn't someone that really believed in like the mental health stuff. I wasn't versed on it, and I always, I handled it with the bottle at the bar, and I never brought it to light to just, assess what's going on with me. I would just tuck it down, and I would just, show a clean face, and I would just push forward. That's what I was taught. And when it catches up to you, when the warfighting tempo, slows down and you don't have purpose and you're out, it does catch up to you, and you start spinning your wheels. Yeah. And when you don't know what it is at first, it's scary as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you really don't know what's going on. And then you start seeing that there is something behind this stuff, and you just gotta you got to stay proactive. And to me, honestly, my podcast is my best form of therapy. Talking to like-minded individuals.
It's just as I would tell my guests, any future guests and past guests, every single episode that I record is, I would say, equally cathartic to me as it is to my guests. Like, this is the thing that I now do that keeps me balanced. This is what, like, when I get up and I think about what am I going to do today, I get excited about scheduling podcasts and researching my guests and understanding where they come from and understanding 100%. Learning from them. I mean, I get to learn something from every guest. There's definitely things to learn. And, that part of it's fun to me. The fact that, I'm giving back to the warfighting community and the veteran community in a positive way and trying to put things out there that are helping people, and every single time I get a testimonial, it's just one of those, it's one of those beat my chest moments, not like selfish, not nothing, but almost just elation, like joy. Just like, if you ever hear that you're part of somebody's success story or you're one piece of something that pulled somebody out of the gutter or out of the shit, man, that's something you should be proud of,
Absolutely.
And I have a lot of emotional issues, like, as a person. Like, my emotional tract, I think, was fucked up in being blown up. I had some 82 millimeter mortars dropped on me. And, like, I don't, it's even with my family, there's hard things for me, but when when I'm here, I'm able, I think it's that safety. And I would say it's because I'm talking to veterans that are just like me, but I've now started to interview people that aren't like me, veterans that didn't have the past that I did, NFL football players that didn't have the past that I did. And I get just as much out of it because I feel like, if one person hears this or hears that or hears that and it changes them, I'm good. If nobody does, I'm good because I put it out there for them. And if it didn't, it didn't. But I'm going to keep putting it out there and keep sending my message out there for the better. And
see, I think that's why we're both successful right now, man. Because honestly, I'm not a social media guy. My Instagram's doing great. I mean, I see you guys are doing great, and it's because we don't really care whether it goes the distance.
You're not trying too hard.
You know what I mean? Yep. It's helping me, and I know it's helping a couple other guys that I care about. That's really all I did it for. You know what I mean?
Well, and that goes back to what I said before about start at your local level. This is a local level. I'm recording this from my local community, and a lot of people that watch it are in my local community, so I know that starts to go. And then as that grows out, maybe that's how it happens. That's that grassroots movement of, hey, we're going to be okay. Hey, and guess what? The military industrial complex just fired the fuck back up because we were off for 9 months. So stand by for more of this to come. And maybe some of you generation now can look and pick apart some of these other experiences that these guys have had that I put on this podcast, that you've put on your podcast and these other shows. There's plenty of it out here now for you to research. Research your enemy, research where you're going, research the terrain, and get in the minds of all these different personalities on these podcasts and their guests, and learn how things were done in the past. Yeah, exactly. It'll only make you better when you actually get to see the situations that you're going to see. They won't be exactly the same. But if you watch enough different situations and how different people chose to negotiate those situations and those obstacles, you will be better for it. Like, what I like to tell a lot of people is, like, if I was to give you 100 pipe cleaners, 50 toothpicks and a ping pong ball, and I said you have 60 seconds to get from that end of the table to that end of the table and the ping pong ball can't touch, could you do it? In 60 seconds, that's a tall order for anybody. Tall order. Now, if I gave you the same shit, but I let you watch a YouTube video of somebody else doing it in 60 seconds one time, how much quicker could you do it, right? Exactly, and so that's what I started doing for myself. Anything I'm interested in, anything I'm going after, anything I'm going to go be around, I'm watching everything, reading everything, and talking to, if I can, to anybody that knows things about that.
Dealt with it before, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why these shows are good, and I get enough purpose from that, man. I love the connection of sitting and talking to somebody for a couple of hours about things that maybe they haven't talked about in a long time. Maybe because, like, a lot of people don't sit down and talk. Now, Joe Rogan said that a million times. Like, a lot of people don't sit down for 2 or 3 hours and talk to each other.
It's true.
And so I learn stuff every time of how to take people. And, I might even be profiling and watching, facial expressions and learning about how you engage with me and what you mean, you know what I mean? And, you can gauge emotional intelligence. You can gauge a lot of things by watching people and actually sitting down and having a conversation,
Yep.
And having a conversation that says, I am disarmed enough to learn something from this person. I don't come here with all the answers. Every conversation I'm in, I want to learn something from that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm the only one talking, I had a mentor say, if you're the smartest person in your circle, you need to get a new circle. And it's not get a new circle, it's add new people maybe, But if you're the only one talking ever and nobody's ever, rebucking you or coming up with different ideas or pushing back, you got to put that back in your life, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I kind of detracted from my
no, you're good.
point, but yeah.
No, but I definitely look at you guys as kind of like a role model in this space, because you kind of have the same direction that I'm going, and I like the people that you put on, and you also you put something out there as well. You don't just take from your guests. You actually there's give and take, which I can appreciate. I just as you just said, I watch some platforms and it seems like there's just one person just on a megaphone just spouting stuff. There's a give and take. You're learning something. You're giving something back to your guests, and I can appreciate that. That's definitely what I'm trying to do in this space. But coming from the era that we come from, man, I'm not really a social media guy or a techie guy. So learning this stuff on the go has definitely been illuminating, to say the least. But I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, man, that's good. I would say let's go back to your career, but we didn't even really get onto your career, so we could just have a rap sesh here.
Yeah, this thing is completely off the rails, and I love it.
honestly, to me, that's when I have when I have like a real conversation, and
that's what we try to do here. That's why I try not to do questions. I don't want to cut people off. I don't want to revert. So I mean, we are where we are. Tell me about, I know, and we talked about it a little bit, and I've seen some on your shows and stuff like that. You weren't an infantryman, right?
Nope. I was an MP actually, man. I was trying to be a cop, and I kind of got sidetracked, to say the least. I started out down in South Carolina in Beaufort. I was doing like on base patrolman, and I don't know. I really wasn't getting much out of it, and I hunted a little bit in New Hampshire, where I'm from, before I went in the Marines, and I got something out of that. So weapons was always my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of got pushed from a superior, a good NCO actually, to go the field side. So field MPs are all about convoy security, going one place, going through a dangerous area, and getting through there safe, with as little bumps along the way as you can, and getting somewhere else.
Yeah.
And honestly, I fell right into that, man. I loved doing that. The way that a mounted convoy operates when it's just banging on all cylinders is fucking beautiful to me.
Yeah.
I love it. The communication is literally at the top rung, and to see that, or to grow with a group of men and just make that your main mission, getting important people through dangerous areas, I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I really fell into it.
Yeah.
So I went out to Okinawa after South Carolina into a field MP group, 3rd Marines, Camp Hansen and Camp Courtney,
Mm-hmm.
and I really fell into it, man. I got into 240s and doing ranges with machine guns out there, and I fucking loved it, dude. I don't know if it's because as a young kid I was really into dirt bikes and ATVs, but I kind of put that into up guns, man. Really riding the gun. You know what I'm saying? Not just being stiff behind it and aiming, but riding that motherfucker out. And I got good. I got good at operating cruisers, man. It was weird because when I went to 2-3, it was funny because it was like, I don't know if you've seen Step Brothers when the two guys meet.
Yeah.
Because when when grunts hear field MPs, they're like, all right, what the fuck do these guys have? What do these guys know? You know what I'm saying? So we just look at each other, and then when we went through CACs with the 2-3 guys, it was like, becoming best friends because they're like, oh shit, these guys actually know a little bit about weapons, and you really like, you work together, and anytime you go through CACs with someone, dude, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But so I got put into a I don't want to say it was like a special mission, but it was a new thing at the time. It was a PMT ETT mission, which is basically training up Afghan police, Afghan army to patrol their area, to basically not be shitheads.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To actually go out there and engage the Taliban. And that was the mission that we got put onto, bro. And my second deployment to Afghanistan was just where I became a man. And
What year was this?
This was 2010. We got to Helmand in June of 2010. And from the start, man, I mean, right when we got to our AO, a VBID right in front of us. Like, I mean, instantly when we got there, and it just set the tone. I mean, don't get me wrong. I went through like IED defeat courses, and that's something that I always preach. I don't really think that you could teach IED defeat. I don't know if that's because Afghans are so good at, relating to our TTPs and really seeing what we do know with IEDs and adapting to it and finding like some new shit. Because you gotta say one thing about fucking Taliban Afghans, dude. These motherfuckers are good. Some of them are good behind, like just remind me of that like gearhead, crackhead method that that'll just put some shit together that you're like, what the fuck is this, dude? Like, how the fuck did these guys do this, dude? Because you can tell these guys just have nothing, absolute nothing, and they just put together some shit. You're like, what the fuck? But it works.
Yeah, and it works. Yeah.
But power to them, man. There's one thing that I'll never not big up my enemy. You know what I'm saying? Some of them boys could fight over there. I'll give that to them. You know what I'm saying? Props.
Oh, they're smart. Some of them can do things that
I thought of it from like another point of view, dude. Like these boys, and fuck it, man. You come at me all you want, but I respected them to a certain degree, man. These guys have fucking nothing. Nothing. Don't get me wrong. I fucking hate the Taliban, and I've killed a few of them. I can't fucking. But still, I'm not that ignorant motherfucker that thinks that I'm at the top of the food chain and no one can get me, because that's when you get got.
That's right.
And one thing is, these boys have nothing. They got cloaks, no draws, a toothbrush, and a fucking chai cup, and a fucking AK-47, and they're banging it out with fucking Marines. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I have respect I have respect in the sense that I respect the fact that they had the balls to come out and give me a fight that I had been looking for. I respected the fact,
and it ends there though.
Yeah, I respected the fact that that they believed in what they believed in enough. I respect that, like, because at least you took a stand and you believed in something.
And they die behind it, because that's a lot to say for someone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I had that respect. But, and there's always going to be a mutual warrior respect. I don't like a lot of the things that my enemies do, or did or are about, like this shit that this Hamas, just evil. But the warrior that goes out, the protector warrior that goes out and, man, I respect that. And we were in your country, and I could get behind you thinking that you're protecting something. So there's a little respect there, but then we fucking kill them. So
exactly. Well, you know what it comes down to too, because I've seen a lot of people bark. Everyone wants nowadays Instagram, everyone wants to put their 2 cents in. It's all about comments and shit like that. And it's all keyboard warriors. It's all bark. It's no bite.
Yeah.
And one thing that them boys did, man, they bit back, and I don't agree with anything about the Quran or what they believe, religious extremists believe, but they got behind AKs and they banged it out with us. So, one thing that's weird to me is, like, as a kid, I used to think I was tough, and I would, get in fights in bathrooms and think I was the man. But, when someone can bang it out with you, like really go toe to toe and stand behind something, like that means something to me. And sometimes your worst enemy after you fight him will become your best friend. You know what I'm saying? Just because you know that he believed in something enough to throw a combination behind her, and the Taliban stance, get behind the AK and bang it out with us. I mean, sometimes that's enough. But yeah, anyway, so we got to Helmand, 2-3 guys, PMT team, and we kind of got put in a weird area. We got put in between a crossroads of two highways, and at the time I'd never heard of Route 606, but it crossroad with Route 1, and at the time Route 1 was to me was the only paved road that I'd been on in Afghanistan. Yeah, and we were told at the time, because it was weird, because I didn't know. I told I was going to be like a PMT ETT team, but I didn't. You get told that, you're like, all right, yeah, but I didn't know what that really meant. I thought I'd be like on, Delaram or one of the main fobs, and we'd bang out a couple missions. We'd come back and eat at the chow hall. That was not the case, like at all. We live outside the wire, like every day. We live next to these guys. We literally patrolled with these guys, and something comes behind that, man. When you live out in the most dangerous area at the time, and you literally eat, drink, shit, shower, everything with these guys, you get a certain relationship with people, man.
Oh, there's a bond for sure.
It's just you can't. We talked about it in the first podcast, man. When you grow with someone like that, and you go through just traumatic events, and you don't even have to think. Like, listen, homeboy's got my back no matter what, and I know he's gonna put a motherfucker down if he has to, and I don't even have to question that.
Yeah,
that's just a love that, like, I can't explain, man. Like, because you don't find that type of relationship. And I didn't know at the time, like, because I thought it was shitty at the time. I thought, oh, this sucks, but you come back here and you realize shit like that is few and far between, man. You're never gonna taste something like that or live something like that again. Like, that was the shittiest but realest and best moments of my life. Honestly.
Now what? Let's get into the night you got after it. Let's say.
Okay. So definitely the most kinetic event I've ever been in. We were, so as I said, I was at a main PB at the crossroads of Route 606 and Route 1, and it was around 2:00 in the morning, and mortars started dropping. And that was the first time I'd ever been in an event where mortars were raining on a close position that I was in. And let me tell you, you feel that in your asshole.
Oh, yeah. It's desperate. It's kind of desperate.
Whoa.
There's just really nothing you can do except for hope.
At all.
I mean, you could run one way. No, really, like, that's the thing. That's real. Like, you could hope, because you could run one way and get blown up. You could sit still and get blown up. It's desperate.
So we were at the time, we were QRF in the area, and basically we had established about 6 patrol bases down Route 1 and Route 606. And at the time, it was down Route 1 that one of the patrol bases was getting ambushed, and really it was just a bait. It was a bait to get us out there, and it was a complex ambush for us. So keep in mind, it's at night. I'm Vic 1 gunner. I got a 50 cal. I'm in my boxers, flak jacket, boots, and we're rocking at like 50 miles an hour out there down this paved road.
Now, how far away is it?
Probably about a mile.
Okay.
2 miles to this patrol base. And keep in mind, we're told to use MDGs at night, man. Something that I had never trained before was engaging moving targets from a moving vehicle. I cannot tell you how hard that is. So we're flying out there, and I start seeing tracer rounds just light up the night. And I remember at that moment, like, don't get me wrong, I'd been in engagements before. I've been in like a few ticks, but that's the closest I'd ever been to it. And right there, I just felt my balls drop. It was just, I knew that this was real, and I knew I was about to, like, just put my varsity jacket on. Like, this is what all my that right there to me is a beautiful moment when you realize you are about to be tested. Like, this is it right here, and it's something that we all hope for, but we don't really know what it looks like or what it's going to be. You know what I mean? And so fuck it, dude. Tracers start ripping the night open, and I got my 50 cal, rack back, ready to go. And our Vic 3 gets hit with an IED, and we start the left side of the night just opens up. I'm talking like at the time. There's something about getting shot at night where you just don't know where the fuck it's coming from. Obviously, it's dark, but when multiple locations open up at you, all you see is muzzle flashes, and that's all you can really aim at. So chaos. Comms are fucked. We're getting hit by an ID 4 trucks back. And keep in mind, we have Afghan Toyotas in between our trucks.
Oh, God.
Yeah. No comm with them. So basically, my truck goes off-road. And 2 MRAP and another MRAP are on my left and on my right. The first MRAP hits a wadi straight in and literally is buried in this wadi because he was going about 40 off-road. And there's something about being in a gun going 40 miles an hour going through wadis that is more terrifying than getting shot at.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, everyone tells you to wear your gunner's harness, but you can't operate that motherfucker with a gunner's harness on. You cannot work around the weapon. You can't do what you need to do with a gunner's harness. So you're not wearing that bitch. And you're just really hugging that motherfucking 50.
Riding the gun.
Oh, fuck. So we're going off road, and basically I open up, dude, with the 50. And I probably put 6 motherfucker dies down there. And my ammo tray, we go off a wadi, and literally we get a little air, and it's just boom, and we hit the next wadi, and my ammo tray gets ripped off the motherfucker.
Oh no!
Awesome. So 50's down, and right then is when a white Sriracha pulls in front of us. Okay,
that's not good.
And we're going about 30, and it planes out a little bit, and then I see in the back of this. You know what I mean when I say Sriracha? So we call them Srirachas. They're like these white, like station wagon.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So they're in front of us, and I see in the back seat, I see this guy put his towel on his head, and I see the guy in the front seat hand him a big weapon, and to me that's a PKM. Something, and I see him put it out the window, sight on me, and at that time I had my M4 out, and it was like I was like locked into that minute. That 1 minute was like a lifetime for me, and
more like a moment, huh?
Yeah, and I remember exhaling. I let a burst out, and I just blew this guy's head off. I remember seeing it vividly. I think about it constantly. I see it in my dreams all the time. But yeah, I actually saw red mist, and I felt fulfilled in the moment.
With your M4?
Yeah. Which is not an easy fucking thing to do, my friend, because I was not looking down that ACOG. I just let that motherfucker go, dude, and I won the moment, and that's all I can cling to as someone. That to me was my triumph, and it's something that I look back at, and I hold on to, man. That's my football trophy. That's my varsity jacket. That was my moment. And I can't tell you the feeling of going through that with your boys, because keep in mind,
now I assume that didn't end the fight.
No.
Yeah.
The fight kept going. Keep in mind, our convoy's all over the place at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like a chaotic situation right now. Yeah,
just trying to get it lassoed in was this probably took 3 hours, man. But the engagement was about probably 30 to 45 minutes. But yeah, man, we took out those guys. We doubled back and we just cleaned up, man. And it was a sight to see, to say the least.
Yeah. Did they probe you and such when you were trying to clean up, or did you guys wipe them out?
Yep. No, I think it was, I don't know. They sent a second QRF out there when this happened. I don't know. I don't remember who it was, because there was 2 other units in the area, but they did the after action. And we went right back to our patrol base because we had injured and we had trucks that were bleeding out oil. So we got a couple towed in, and we got a couple guys that had to get casevac'd. And so we went right back to the PB. But the feeling of going through just a adrenaline packed moment like that and settling down after is I've never felt anything like it, especially because just being on a up gun, engaging the enemy finally, like where you can see them and you can see your rounds impacting, settling down and cleaning weapons after that is just, that's what we did, man. We cleaned everything and we fixed everything. We, duct tape everything back together because that's all we had at the moment. But it's quiet at first. It's dead quiet because everyone's just like still a little shaky still. And then all of a sudden we just open up and everyone starts talking about it. And that to a few guys that, I mean, don't get me wrong, we had a couple salty guys with us, grunts, but a lot of guys, that was the first major engagement. So talking about it afterwards with your boys is one of the things that really sticks with me. And I remember who I was talking to, what we said, but that was a defining moment for me, man. It's something I'll always remember.
Yeah, man, that's wild. It's good when all of the training comes together and culminates with that moment, with that test, and then you win the day. And sometimes winning the day still isn't pretty.
No.
Sometimes winning the day is you got a couple people dead, but you were able to kill the enemy and make it back. That can be a win. Yeah. Well, and there's multiple ways to look at that. And I never wanted to say that I survived combat, and sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes that you survived. I always wanted to say that I thrived and through combat. I didn't survive it. I went there and I took it to the enemy. And sometimes that's just not the situation. Sometimes it's you survived because, odds were crazy or mission was fucked up, or like in this situation, you had a crazy thing happen right there. Crazy from the beginning because you know what you're going into, so that adrenaline's there. It's not like by chance somebody said, hey, they're getting ambushed and they need you, and now you're running, so that part of it's wild. Then the ambush actually turns out being on you, which throws a whole new wrench in the system. Then you got guns down and trucks down and another convoy out there. I mean, that's a chaotic scene right there.
You know, I forgot to tell you, it's funny I left this out, but when we first took contact and went off road, I remember hearing just sporadic on the left of the vehicle, just, small rounds hitting.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the right side of the vehicle, just a much larger caliper hitting once on the right side of the vehicle, hit the window, and then the last one ricocheted off my helmet and knocked me down into the cab. And my helmet had a big fucking scathe in it, ripped and everything. I thought I was hit. And like I had the dude down there like pat me down and everything. And of course my heart rate's like all jacked up because I just took a round in the fucking dome. You know what I mean? And I remember on my right is the interpreter, and he's scared shitless, and he's like, "You gotta get back up there." He's like, "Take this grenade." He's like, "You're our only fucking hope." And,
it's like, "Fuck you, John. You get up there.
Get the fuck up there." Oh,
that's funny, dude.
Yeah,
funny. Now, how did everybody take that? Everybody else, because I mean, you said you had some grunts intermingled with you guys too, or intermixed with you guys.
Yep.
With the transition team.
Yeah, we had about 8.
Yeah. So were they? And you said some of them had some salt on their laces. Were those guys helpful when it came to managing emotions and managing an aftermath?
Very much so. I learned a lot from them.
Yeah,
very much so.
Talk about that a little bit for maybe some guys that maybe find themselves in a situation that don't have that.
So I became very friendly with a few guys from 2-3 that were infantry guys, and I learned a lot from them. And a lot of it is managing emotions and just tact in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to read where you're getting shot at, being able to know how far away the enemy is, knowing what kind of munitions is coming at you, what to fire back with, what position to fire back with, what position to be in. honestly, I was amazed by how much. Like, listen, I've always been a very prideful person, and I thought I knew a lot of things, but the grunts down with 2-3, man, they were absolutely beautiful at their jobs. They could. I learned so much from these guys, and not only that, they weren't really boastful about it either. They were calm. They were calm about it, and that I at that just going through that with them, I wish I had gone that route and been in 03 because it's everything. Like, just to see you guys doing your job in the moment is just a beautiful thing. To see how you guys can react to taking contact and just work through it. That's an amazing thing to see.
Yeah.
Because the usual thing for a human being, you get shot at, you're not running towards it, and to see someone do that and just take out the enemy at the same time, it's just not something that I've seen before. That's for sure.
Probably not since either, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, what are you doing now? Tell people what you're doing now, where they can find you now, what you got, and talk to me about what you got storing for the next year coming up.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to. So you can find me at Hard to Kill Pod, Pod being P0D on Instagram. We're also on Spotify, Hard to Kill Podcast, YouTube as well. Um, but yeah, we're trying to spread awareness, man. I mean, a lot of guys coming back are dealing with, you brought it up, PTSD, PTS, whatever you want to call it. I don't really know what I want to call it, but it could just be just traumatic brain injury. I don't think anyone really knows what to
No,
call
dude,
it yet.
there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that post-traumatic stress disorder is absolutely a real thing, and it doesn't mean combat. I mean, you could be raped, you could be in a bad car accident, you could have a bad bully, you could have been attacked by a swarm of bees. There's things that can give you PTSD, and these are just symptoms that are going to come, such as anxiety and headaches and depression, and this is real. What the comment I made about TBI is, at least for me, I believe that my brain got shook up on some explosions, and it altered my my intelligence control, or not my intelligence, but my emotional intelligence capacity, because I've become much more emotional as far as ups and downs, highs and lows emotionally after that. But I also think, I'm working with a doctor called Dr. Mark Gordon, and hopefully more in the future. But inflammation in the brain in certain areas is bad. Inflammation in the brain in certain areas can cause migraines. Inflammation in the brain in certain areas can cause anxiety. Inflammation in certain parts of the brain can cause nightmares. Okay, and so when your top 3 symptoms of PTSD are also your top 3 symptoms of TBI, and we know very little, or if we do know a whole lot, we're not publishing it because there's nothing we can do about it. Like, I like to look to the TBI studies that the NFL does. And I've said many times, if the NFL has a little guy on the sidelines can walk up to a dude that just took a massive hit to his brain and look at his eyes in this tent and give him some tests and know that he can't go back out and hit again, I do not know why we can't train a line corpsman that way. I just do not know why we can't tell a corpsman, hey, here's the 10 points, these are the questions, this is what you look for in the eyes, and if they're down, they're out. They got to sit down for a minute. However long that is, we make an SOP, right? And the answer is, because when we have a main conflict, bro, everybody's going to have issues from that gets hit. And can you afford that? Do you have the replacements for that? And so those are the things that I think about when I talk about PTSD and TBI. Is PTSD a real thing? It is absolutely a real thing, dude. Absolutely a real thing, and is even bigger in the first responder community than it ever thought about being in the military community. It's just a fact. Now, when we have big things happen and big invasions, yeah, we're going to have upkicks in those numbers. But firefighters, state highway patrolmen, local constables, and sheriffs, those people and their rates are always going to be at a certain level. People that are cleaning up kids and moms and dads off the side of the highway because of high-speed accidents and such, they're going to experience things. That's post-traumatic stress disorder. That's having a disorder within you causing negative outcomes because of something you went through. I'm just saying, I think that there's brain-related injuries that we have in the military specifically, and also car wrecks and such, that do the same thing, and I think it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
Of course.
Like, I never had a problem killing the enemy. I didn't lose sleep over it. If I had any PTS from the war, it was the way in which that culture treats their people and the lack of value on human life in that culture. It messed with me. The way they treated the little Down syndrome kids or kids with pigment issues. They like dogs. They were chained with collars on their necks with 3-4 foot of lead in Marja with a bowl of slop in 120-degree heat, no clothes on. It's like you're treating this kid like an animal. And so when that's the culture that I see, that was traumatizing to me. Killing the enemy? Oh, man.
Not a
you're
problem.
going to shoot at my dudes or you're going to threaten my guys? That's an easy solution for me. It's not an easy solution when you're trying to offer up your child for sex favors to my men.
That's what I was just going to say. I was just going to say that was around that a
That's
lot.
a cultural thing. Yeah, it's a cultural
It's fucked
thing.
up,
And it's
dude.
like that's how these people live. And so if anything got me like psychologically messed up, it would be that. It would be things like that. Human shields they used in the beginning of Marja, that stuff messed me up. And so, anyway, I just don't want anybody to go away from this interview thinking I don't believe in it. I absolutely believe in it. I absolutely believe it's real, coming from a guy who didn't believe it was real before it happened. So.
I brought up the way they treated young Afghan boys. I walked in on it at a very early stage of my deployment, and it was shocking to say the least. I had never seen something like that in my life. I hope to never see it again, and I just don't understand it. I can't imagine doing something like that to your people, to your youth.
Your own
I'll
children?
never understand it. Yeah.
Yeah, different culture, man, for sure. Well, listen, man, it's been a minute. I'm glad you took the time to come on. I look forward to talking more in the future, at least just
Absolutely.
talking more offline. If we put an episode together, that'd be great. But stay with it, man. Stay with it. And for all you guys out there, America is the light. We are the light. We're going through hard times, but we are the light. And that's fact. Nobody in the world does what we do. Nobody in the world is capable of the help that we have been able to bestow upon other nations. And so, though times may look grim or have darkness to them, America's the light, and we got to keep on chugging.
Absolutely. Ryan, Matt, it's been a pleasure. I hope to talk to you guys again. Semper Fi, guys. Hoorah. Have a good night.
All right, brother. We'll see you.
Appreciate it.
Well, that concludes this episode. Thanks for listening to Choices Not Chances podcast. Please share, like, and subscribe wherever you listen or watch our podcast. You can also follow us on social media at Choices Not Chances podcast. Thanks, and have a great day.
Louisiana Gun Shop, your firearm headquarters, specializing in concealed carry guns, ammo, and training. You can get your Louisiana permit with us. Also a large selection of AR-15s, or if you are that build-it-yourself type of guy or gal, we have all the parts to build and customize your own AR-15. Glock, SIG, Taurus, Ruger. We have all the brands, both in the store or at LouisianaGunShop.com.
Not too far. You're marking a building. Hit him. Yeah, that's good. That's a good shot. That's money. Yeah. Money.